Hey guys, today we are taking a look at Prydwen tier list for Etheria Restart. If you want to play this game with the best information to progress the fastest and to dominate PvP, you need to check out prydwen.gg for so many, and I repeat, so many information, guide, unit, database available for Etheria Restart, and also if you can, subscribe to my YouTube channel. So for the tier list, it's actually an amazing tier list because they have footnote for every single unit. So that it's not just like, this unit is great and this unit is bad. But even for the good unit, there are certain weakness to the unit. Let's say, for example, Messiah is going to be team dependent, or Tiamat is going to take a little bit of time to get really, really strong. So when you look at a tier list, it is so amazing to have such nuances included in the tier list. And not only that, they're breaking down tier lists into different area of the game to show you that different area require different kind of units. So we have campaign and different dungeon, union boss, PvP AI, which is the normal arena where you are attacking the enemy defense that is going to use AI to attack you. And then there's going to be real-time PvP against a real player, and that can be vastly different because AI and real time with people controlling the unit, we use very different skill, choose different strategy. So the tier list for them will be very, very different. So first, for the campaign, I can safely say you can ignore this tier list. To be honest, I'm sorry, Prydwen, but for campaign, you can use pretty much whatever you have, whatever you want, and you can clear the campaign rather easily. And of course, strong AoE unit like Messiah or Tiamat is gonna be incredible. And maybe if there's going to be bosses in a campaign, you're probably going to use Dot to bring it down if your gear is not that strong. However, I want you to pay attention to the different tier lists for the three main bosses that you'll be farming gear from. First is going to be Doki Doki, which you are going to farm speed gear from. And this game, speed is very, very important. So Doki Doki boss, in short, is a boss where you require to do a lot of AoE damage. So in the tier 0, you are seeing the Messiah for amazing AoE damage. And we have Ciara the Fox Girl who can do AoE defense break as well. So these units are going to be pretty awesome. For control, we are seeing AoE debuff in Kraken, AoE dots from Obo, or AoE debuff in the SSR like Claws, Lilith, and Hendrik. So they're doing amazing AoE debuff and damage. For the support, we have the cooldown reducing unit, and Lily can buff your crit damage as well, which will allow you to clear the dungeon even faster. And for sustain, we have the Linglo, who's going to be free for healing, and Tiamat for big damage. I agree with this tier list in this particular position because you need a lot of AoE damage with this boss, and this is pretty much what you need to bring the boss down quickly. So for the tier 0.5, these options can be really good as well. For the lower tier, pretty much is going to be the opposite element of this boss. So the boss is going to be water element. That is why all the tier 5 character are all fire unit. So when you bring fire against water, you're going to crit less, you're going to land debuff less, you're going to do less damage, and the enemies will focus on the fire unit and destroy it very, very quickly. For the Aurora boss, it's going to be a fire boss. So that's why you see a lot of water and a bit of fire unit on the tier. And then the other green, or I would say wind unit, are going to be bottom tier because they're going to be focused down by the boss. But maybe Freya, who's mainly there for the buff and debuff, can still be used in this boss because it is okay for her to not really do any real damage to the boss anyway. However, if you can bring in Linglo or Tiamat for the sustain, that's going to be absolutely incredible. So the main strategy for Aurora right now is Dot. That's why you see Obo being very, very high, and because the enemy team can have immunity, Hendrik is also really high, but Hendrik is going to be an LD5 super rare unit, so you can probably ignore that as well because most player will not have Hendrik anyway. So the main strategy is going to be Obo to provide Dot. This Fangus guy to provide dot as well, whatever healer sustain you're going to bring in with Laylo and Tiamat, and whatever cooldown support unit that you can have, for example, Tsukiyomi or Bayontine, who can provide buff for the team, and also a very important thing which is going to be revived in case your team fail. And other than that, you will see more dot and debuff in the other unit. However, the main strategy for Aurora boss, as you can see in tier 0, once again, is going to be dot damage over time. And the same can be applied for the other content as well. And for Union boss, they will also have 3 different elements. So once again, the tier for each different element can be a little bit different. But what I want to focus on is going to be first the AI PvP, which is going to be the normal arena where you build your team and you defeat the enemy defense that's going to use AI. So in this content, you are able to build the perfect team to counter whatever defense the enemy is having. And the enemy is going to have AI controlling the defense, which means you can bait certain element to attack the opposite element, or you know what kind of AoE skill is going to come out first to counter that with certain gear build or shell build. But the good thing is, we can see the consistency of Linglo and Tiamat being very, very popular, because Tiamat is an amazing AoE character and Linglo is the best healer. However, Sania is going to be an incredible character for this content, because Sania can provide healing, especially in the passive. So if Sania happened to get stunned by the enemy team first turn, she can still heal and cleanse your team with her passive. And if you get one-shotted, then Sania can also provide the revive for that unit, which makes Sania an amazing character together with Linglo and Tiamat if you're running like a bruiser comp. And in the support section, you are seeing a lot of cooldown reduction, speed buff, turn meter support, and that is going to be amazing for your team. In the damage department, unfortunately, Messiah is still going to be one of the best damage dealer, but he's a light character and he's going to be very, very hard to get. However, there are many other damage dealer playstyle. However, Veronica is going to be an amazing support. I think Veronica together with Tiamat is going to give you an amazing HP bruiser style team that can be very tanky and do good damage at the same time. And we have different CC unit here, with Lilith being a very, very popular character because she can provide AoE bomb debuff that can detonate by her as well, and she can slow the enemy down, so she can control, do good damage, slow and stun the entire enemy team. However, I think Hellkit, in my opinion, is very popular on many different tier list, but is one of the unit that I think is kind of a fraud. Okay, hear me out. Hellkit is an attack-based shielder, so his shield scale with his attack. So Hellkit will be very good if you build Hellkit with high attack. However, if the enemy team happen to have any AoE buff dispeller and take away the shield of Hellkit, then he become a very fragile character because you have to invest into his attack power to maximize the shield value. And the shield comes with immunity. However, if you break the shield with enough damage, the immunity will also go away. A lot of people have the impression that they have immunity for a long time until the enemy break the shield, and the immunity will go away with that as well. So I am personally not a huge fan of Hellkit, because the moment they know to strip your Shroud Barrier, which is Hellkit's shield, suddenly he's a very squishy character. And I don't like that a lot. So in this tier list, I think the CC playstyle is being favored over the raw damage playstyle, because you can see Kraken here, Veronica, Hellkit has a soft CC kit, and Lilith being a very good CC unit. The raw damage playstyle, you kind of need to have Messiah, or I think Rosa is also a CC unit, and Hoyen is a great single target one-shot character. However, it's going to be a bit more team dependent. You're required to have attack buff, or maybe crit damage buff, and they're going to be killed rather easily. So the better playstyle, I think overall, is still going to be Bruiser with HP and a lot of control for the AI PvP. You know what? I thought the RTA tier list is going to be a little bit different than the Arena tier list, but they are kind of the same. But I feel like when people play the game for like a month or two, the AI tier list is going to be a little bit different compared to the RTA tier list. So once again, we are seeing 2 different playstyle, one being the control playstyle here in the middle, which are the very top tier unit, and then we have the raw damage playstyle. on the left side, which are going to be a little bit harder to play because when you're going raw damage, you're going to be a little bit easier to kill. However, they just introduced Borkney, which we cannot really test in RTA yet because they just released the unit. He has not been played with in the tournament before this, so it's going to be a bit hard to judge how good he actually is. However, he's going to be a hybrid between high health and high attack stat. He cannot crit, but he can still do very good damage the less enemy he attack with the skill 3, which can be kind of interesting. He also heal himself, so he's gonna be the kind of unit that take a while to be really strong, and he will not be instantly wiping the floor with the enemy team. However, the debuff playstyle is still gonna be very popular because you can control the enemy team, you can choose to stun, do damage, or snipe, whatever you want, and that is just a much more dominating way to play the game. You can also see that there are a couple revival options which were very dominating 2 tournaments ago. So before the previous tournament, people were using freaking reviver everywhere because there was no timer in RTA to bring down the health and bring up the damage of the character. So reviver are actually just insane because they can keep reviving, healing, and the game lasts 20 or 30 minutes. But now it's a bit harder to do so because they're gonna increase the damage output and reduce the healing output to make the game last a little bit less, because you cannot have 15-20 minute RTA matches. It's gonna be absolutely ridiculous. So all the rare unit are pretty much always low, and the other unit that doesn't provide crazy control are also low as well. Unfortunately, unit like Claws, who doesn't stun, is a bit lower compared to unit who can actually stun and lock down the enemy with turn meter. But I feel like Claws gonna be a little bit stronger if you combine her with the unit on top, because the defense special can provide can allow your team to do very good damage and end the fight faster. And I think that's going to be one category to play RT as well, because nobody want to sit there and control for like 20 minutes. You need to add in damage dealer enabler like Claws, who can provide defense break to destroy the enemy faster. More or less, I'm going to agree with the tier list I'm seeing in front of me right now, because I know the tier list is going to change anyway, because we have limited time to play with all these units, or no time at all for certain things like Borkney or Marvel. So only when we have been playing the game for like 3 weeks to a month, we can really nail all these units. And the team combination that they can have is going to be so big that the moment people discover new team, the tier list will change drastically. So all this is for quick reference, because in this kind of game, it's all about team building. So even though you are using unit in tier 1, tier 2 on this kind of tier list, but you combine them in a certain way, you can still create a tier 0 team. And I think that is the most important thing in this kind of game. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and a huge shout out to Prydwen.gg. Please check them out. They have so much amazing info on this website, and I would love for you guys to learn more about the game through the website. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.